A very good afternoon, class. So as you all know, we have already started and completed the first exercise of lesson number 8, that is probability distributions. Continuing forward with the topic, many experiments are dichotomous in nature. Dichotomous? Yes, dichotomous means dividing the data into two parts. An experiment is dichotomous if it has two possible outcomes. For example, when we toss a coin, the two outcomes may be head or tail, or the results of the students, which can be pass or fail. Answer to a question which is asked. It can be either yes or no. Manufacturing the products. The products can be defective or non-defective. So basically, class, the dichotomous experiments are those experiments that can result in one of the two possible outcomes. That is why they are called as dichotomous experiments. These outcomes can be, number one, denoted as success, and the other outcome can be denoted as a failure. For example, when we toss a coin and if head appears, we can say it is a success. If tail appears, we can denote it as failure. Now, these dichotomous experiments are called as Bernoulli trial. Every time we toss a coin or perform a dichotomous experiment, we call it a trial. If we toss a coin 4 times, the number of trials will be 4, each having exactly 2 possible outcomes, namely success or a failure. If we throw a die and define success as getting even number and failure as getting odd number, we have a Bernoulli trial. Successive throws of die are independent trials and forms a sequence of Bernoulli trials. If die is fair, then the probability will be 3/6 of getting even numbers, as there are 3 even numbers when we throw a die. That is 2, 4 and 6. So it will be 3/6, 1/2. Similarly, Q will be equal to 1/P. That is 1 minus half will give you a half. So in a Bernoulli trial, the probability of success is represented as the letter P and that of failure is represented as Q. And Q can be found out as 1 minus P. Now consider the below example. 6 balls are drawn successively from an urn containing 7 red and 9 black balls. Decide whether the trials of drawing the balls are Bernoulli trials if after each ball the ball drawn is replaced and not replaced in the urn. So class, as you can see, in all there are 9 plus 7, 16 balls. Out of those 16 balls, you are drawing 6 balls and there are 2 conditions which are put in front of you. The number 1, whatever balls you all are drawing are replaced. So let us see the first condition. When the drawing is done with replacement, the probability of getting success, say for example red ball, will be 7/16, which remains the same for all the 6 trials, correct? Because you're drawing one ball, you're seeing the color and putting it back in the same box. So the probability of success does not change. Hence, we can say drawing balls with replacement are Bernoulli trials. Consider the second condition. When the drawing is done without replacement, the probability of success, that is getting a red ball, in the first trial will be 7/16. But now you are not putting the ball back in the box. So in the second trial, the probability will change to 6/15. If first ball drawn is red and is 7 by 15 if the first ball drawn is black, and so on. So clearly the probability of success is not same for all the trials. Hence these trials are not called as Bernoulli trials. So after looking at this particular example, we can define the sequence of Bernoulli trials. A sequence of dichotomous experiments is called a sequence of Bernoulli trials if it satisfies the following conditions. The trials are independent and the probability of success remains the same in all the trials. Moving on to the next topic, binomial distributions. What is binomial? Correct. Bi means two. So when there are two variables involved, the distribution is called as a binomial distribution. But before that, some topics that you need to know is have a look at this diagram. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Have you all seen this type of triangle before? Can you all know what is this triangle called? Correct. It is called as Pascal's triangle. So just have a look at what is going on in the video. So 1 plus 2 gives you 3. 2 plus 1 will have 3. So 1, 1, 2. 1 plus 2, 3. 2 plus 1, 3. And it keeps going on. As you can see, the triangle goes on increasing. Now what is this? If I tell you to find the square of 107, the whole square, how will you do it? The first step is 107 into 107. You get the answer. Or the second step is we can split 107 as 100 plus 7, the whole square. Can I say this is in the form of a plus b the whole square? Correct. What is the formula for a plus b the whole square? It's a square plus 2ab plus b square. So what conclusion can you draw from seeing this particular number and the Pascal's triangle? Can I say a square is having 1, ab is having 2, and b is having 1? These are called as the coefficients. So can I say that in the diagram, whatever you can see is nothing but the coefficients which you get from the Pascal's triangle? So can I say a plus b the whole square is nothing but 1 to 1? Similarly, if I tell you to find out a plus b the whole cube, what's the formula? A cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square plus b cube. Again, the coefficients as you can see. So can I say this is nothing but the coefficients which you can see in the Pascal's triangle? Have a look. 1, 3, 3, 1. So got it, class? So Pascal's triangle is nothing but they can help you to find out the square, cube, 4th root, 5th, 6th, 7th and so on. So you can keep increasing it. So one more thing which you can notice is 1 plus 2 plus 1 gives you 4. In the start, 1 plus 1 gives you a 2. So you have 2, next number you have 4. If I add 1, 3, 3, 1, it gives me 8. And if I keep on adding like this, and if you see, normal 2 can be written as 2 raised to 1. 4 is nothing but 2 square. 8 is nothing but 2 cube and so on. So in this way, Pascal's triangle helps us to find out a plus b the whole square, a plus b the whole cube, a plus b raised to 4 and so on. So in this way, class, you can do such type of sums, and that is why information regarding Pascal's triangle is very, very important. We have already covered this topic last year, permutations and combinations. We'll just consider the combination formula for the time being. Now, what is the connection between combination and Pascal's triangle and probability? A combination is grouping or subsetting of items. For a combination, the order does not matter. And the formula which I had already taught you last year was NCR is equal to n factorial upon n minus r factorial into r factorial. N stands for number of items in the set and R stands for number of items selected from the set. For example, if I tell you to find out the value of 2C0, how will you find out? So you will put it in the formula 2 factorial upon 0 factorial into 2 minus 0 factorial. 0 factorial is nothing but 1 and 2 minus 0 gives you 2 factorial. So 2 factorial gets cancelled, you're left with 1. Similarly, if you want to find out 2C1, so 2 factorial, 1 factorial into 2 minus 1 factorial. Answer is 2. Similarly, 2C2, you get 1. What is your observation, class? 1, 2, 1. Where did you see it? In the similar manner, class, if I tell you to find out 3C0, 3C1, 3C2 and 3C3, what will you observe? Just find and check it for yourselves. So what I'm trying to tell you, class, there's a relation between the Pascal's triangle and combinations. When we got the answer 1 to 1, what was the logic behind this? It is nothing but the formula for a plus b the whole square. Similarly, the activity which I asked you to do just now, you will get the values 1, 3, 3, 1. It is nothing but the formula of a plus b the whole cube. So I'll just explain you all how this Pascal's triangle is formed. So when I add, I'll write single 1. Then I'll increase those two ones and I add 1 plus 1, you get 2 over here. Then in front of 2, you will add 2 ones. Similarly, 2 plus 1 will give you 3. Again, 2 plus 1 will give you a 3. Then you'll write 1, 1. 3 plus 1 will give you 4. 3 plus 3 will give you 6. 3 plus 1 will again give you 4. In this way, you can keep on increasing and it becomes a triangle. The person who formed this, who had found out this, his name was Pascal. That is why the topic's name is Pascal's triangle. So I hope you all followed what is the connection between combinations and a Pascal's triangle. So now you can find out and check it for yourselves. What can be the value of a plus b the whole raised to 6 and a plus b the whole raised to 8 by using combinations. So with this class, we can come to the topic binomial theorem. But before deriving a general formula, let's have a look how it is derived. Now, as I explained to you all, a plus b the whole square and a plus b the whole cube can be written like this. But what about the values of the other terms? As 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1 are called as the coefficients, that is the binomial coefficients. But what about these a and b? How will you identify how the a cube, a square, a, these values come? Just have a look at the powers of all the alphabets. Here you can see a square. Next you can see a, and a single a can be written as a raised to 1. And here you cannot see any a, but I can write it for you all as a raised to 0. Because anything raised to 0 is 1. Similarly, what can you see about b? Here you cannot see any b. So can I say here I can write b raised to 0? Then single b stands for b raised to 1 and b square. If you didn't follow, pay attention for this. A cube, a square, a raised to 1 And here you cannot see any a, but I can write a raised to 0. Similarly, b square, b cube, and here you cannot see any b, so I can write b raised to 0. Now, did it click anything in your mind? Correct. What are your observations? So as I explained here, there is b raised to 0, b raised to 1, and b raised to 2. Similarly, a cube, a square, a raised to 1, a raised to 0. B raised to 0, b, b square, b cube. So what can we say? The value of a is continuously decreasing and the value of b is continuously increasing. So class, with this, we can move and derive a general formula for the binomial theorem. So we can write a plus b, the whole raised to n, is equal to nc0, leave some space, plus nc1, leave some space, plus nc2, leave some space, till ... ncn times. Then, as you know, the value of a keeps on decreasing. So I can add a raised to n, a raised to n minus 1, a raised to n minus 2, a raised to n minus 3 till a raised to 0, because in the end a disappears. And similarly, the value of b increases. So in the start, you will have b raised to 0, b raised to 1, b raised to 2, b raised to 3 up till b raised to n, where the value of a decreases and value of b increases. So with this class, we have made a connection between Pascal's triangle combinations, which we together use it in binomial theorem. The probability distribution of number of successes in an experiment consisting of n Bernoulli trials can be obtained by the binomial expansion of q plus p, the whole raised to n. This distribution of x successes in n Bernoulli trials can be written as follows. So what generalization I taught you just now have written in a tabular form like this. So as you can see, q represents a and p represents b. So nc0, p raised to 0 into q raised to n. So continuously, you will keep on increasing the combinations NC1, NC2, NCX up till NCN. Similarly, the value of Q is decreasing. So Q raised to N, Q raised to N minus 1, Q raised to N minus 2, and so on. Similarly, the value of P increases. P raised to 0, P raised to 1, P raised to 2 up till P raised to N. So, the above probability distribution is known as the binomial distribution with the parameters n and p. We can find the complete probability distribution of the random variable using the values of n and p. The fact that RV, random variable x, follows binomial distribution with parameters n and p is written as x follows binomial distribution in comma p. So in this way it is read. So binomial distribution formula is given like this. For probability of x successes, where p of x is also denoted by px, is given as p of x is equal to ncx into q raised to n minus x into p raised to x, where values of x can start from 0, 1 up till n, and the value of q can be found out as 1 minus p. Also, a binomial distribution with n Bernoulli trials and p as probability of success in each trial is denoted by binomial n comma p, or written as x follows binomial n comma p. For your information, the mean and variance of binomial distribution. This we have already covered in the first exercise. X follows B, N comma P, that is binomial with parameters N and P. The mean or expected value of X is denoted by mu, that is U or एक danda. It is also called as expected value of X and is denoted by E of X. And the formula of E of X for binomial theorem or distribution is given as mu is equal to Ex is equal to N multiplied by P. Similarly, the variance is denoted by V of X or Shetty square or standard deviation square and is given by N into P into Q. So you can have a look. This is the formula that we are going to use in our next exercise. So the topic is binomial distribution in a probability distribution, where we will be finding out the probability distribution of X successes of Bernoulli trials. So P of X is equal to NCX into success, that is P raised to X, into failure, that is Q raised to N minus X. The mean or expected value is given as N into P, and variance of X, V of X, is given as NPQ. Always remember, class, in a binomial distribution, mean will always be greater than variance. I repeat, in a binomial distribution, mean will always be greater than variance. So class, topic for tomorrow is we are going to start with exercise 8.3 sums. I hope you all followed the topic binomial distribution. So if you like my videos, class, please share across the link with your friends and do subscribe to my channel. So stay tuned until we meet in the next lecture. Thank you so much, class, for listening to me. We stop here for today.